let's have a look. Okay, so what I sometimes might do is I might just say, well, I want this all to fit on a page. And so that's a good place to start, is I could just start with the rec command, REC, and I say, well, I want this to start at 0 tab 0. And then the second point that I want it to go to is specify other point. So I can say that if it's a piece of paper, that's 297 tab 210. Let's see if that worked. There we go. Now, I just tried zooming around. What I can do is just go Z space E space. That's zoom extends, and that will give me an A4 piece of paper. That's pretty good. Now, what I might even do is I might use an offset command and say, well, I want to have a margin, right? So I want maybe have a 10 mil margin around the page, and that's pretty common. So if I click on the object, I've now got a 10 mil margin around my page, and then I could put some rectangles around. So let's just say, well, my rectangle is roughly, I can't see the overall dimension, 80, so it's 80 by 56, right? Something like that. So if I put in a rectangle, so escape to start, and then rectangle, and I don't really care where it goes because we're going to move it. And we're going to set this one as 80 in that direction, in the X direction, tab 56 in the Y direction. Right, I've got a starting point, and then from there I could draw another rectangle. Well, so what I might do is I'll start with a rectangle from here, and I'll go, I don't really care about the dimension. You know what, we're going to go 30 by 30. And I've said before that 30 is a good distance to put your object. And I'm going to draw another rectangle. So this one here is going to be 80 by 52. And then what I could do is I can use the line command, L, and I can just pick a number. 150 is fine, but I want the angle. To specify the angle, I use the less than sign, and I want that to be at 45 degrees. Now, in this case, I don't really need to do that here. You can see how I've produced orthogonal lines by going out across it, a straight line, and then down when we hit this 45 degree line. But that might, I mean, I don't think that's really faster than drawing the object, but at least I know it's where I want to be. So like in many situations, there's lots of ways that we can approach things, and this will work fine. Okay, so I'm now just going to trim to get rid of a few things that we don't need. So I know all the other lines I'm going to need are going to be within this space. Now, for this object, I just want to select the whole object and then delete it. Now, it's interesting to note that in AutoCAD, there's two different selections. So we've got green selection and blue selection. Green selection will take anything that you clip, whereas blue, it has to be entirely within the blue area. So that is actually quite useful once you get into the habit of doing it. Okay, so now that we've got our shape, and hopefully this picture is big enough, but if people tell me it's not big enough, we can zoom in a little bit in a second. Now, another thing we can do is we can zoom as a window. So if I press, I have to be in AutoCAD, Z space, and if I go W for window, and I can say, well, everything I'm going to do is going to be in this zone here. So that might be good enough. The only problem is I might want to zoom out a little bit. I might want to pan just a little bit so that my command bar isn't in the space. Okay, so now that I've got that, let's see which shape we're doing. Okay, I had the wrong shape here. I've got 2 and I want 3. That's a bit annoying because I have already drawn the shape. Now the problem is with this is I don't have the dimension for the width of this object. So for those of you who are saying 50, you know, you're probably thinking, where did that 50 come from? This should be 60. Now what are the ways that we can approach that? Well, one thing we could do is I like that 30 mil spacing, and I don't really want to move this. So I made this object here 52 or something like that. We could figure that out by pressing LI, and li will list the object and it'll tell us how wide the area is. What it does is some really interesting things. You can draw like a complicated shape and you don't need to use calculus to figure it out. The computer will tell you the thing. It'd be great if it just said its height and width. So we have to like calculate that because we have to know what its locations are. Another thing we can do is we can use DI, which gives us a distance, and it just tells us the distance from here to here, and we said 56. So what we actually want to do is we want to make this 60. So I'm pressing L, and if I go down to 60, then what I can do is I could probably extend this box down. I think I have to go there. Okay, so what I can do is, if I know the difference was 8, I'm going to, well, it's telling me it's 4. Well, let's say it's 4. Okay, now the thing is, I've got this little line here. Now you shouldn't really worry too much about that little line. There was only a little line, but what we want to do is we only want to get the line that's in this space. So just to show you what I'm talking about, if I go M to move this to here, no, okay, I thought I had a line. Oh, it was a big line. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so if I go here, I just click that object and then go by 4, and it's pretty easy to harder here. The reason why it's harder here is because this is not a rectangle, and that's where using rectangles where possible. But this whole object needs to change actually. Now, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. The problem we have is I have no idea what this size is, so I've got to pick a reasonable value. It looks like it's at least 60. I'm going to say it's actually 70. So let's go, if I know what this is, DI. 52, I want to add 18 to that. Okay, so I wasn't planning on using this particular tool, but you know, it worked out okay. Now, the good thing about setting out your drawings a little bit like this is that I'm pressing M to move, is that it helps us to identify, well, how much space are we going to have to label everything? And for some reason, it won't let me go up that far. That should do. Okay, I'm just going to quickly try and see if I can find the original drawings. And with the original drawings, hopefully... Okay, for the third one, it is 70. I think I said 70. So DI... that dimension is 70. Okay, so just to show you, it does say 70 there. I don't know why I didn't label that. I probably should have. I mean, I definitely should have. That was bad, Mr. Punzit. The dimension should go here. That's where I'm going to put the dimensions because we've got the thing. Now, I was reading just recently, as you do, to make sure that you're... I'm going to use the 3D picture. So I'm going to be drawing off this picture because it just fits on the screen and it's nice and easy to read. Okay, so rather than looking at the answers, but I'll show you what I'm trying to build with the answers. If I was super keen, I would even put that on the picture. I would even have the original isometric, but you know what? I'm probably not going to do that now. Okay, so that's by blocking out the shape first. And it costs us nothing to do that on AutoCAD. That's the advantage. Whereas if we do this on, paper, there is something to be said. There is a cost of putting in pictures. Drawing these rectangles that we're not going to use. And the cost of that is that every time we have to rub out a line, that it leaves some amount of a mark on the paper, and we don't like that. So we want to, I mean, there's nothing wrong with drawing construction lines, and by all means, I would have nothing wrong with you drawing the box. Just keep in mind that that is a consideration, that as you get better, especially if you become a professional draftsperson, which is unlikely, but you never know, the more lines you draw, the more you have to rub out. And I mean, if you're going to be a professional draftsperson, you're not going to be doing it on hand anyway. Okay, so I've got this shape, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in some details. So I'm going to go from here, I'm going to press escape, and I'm going to press L, and I'm going to go up 14 mil. And then, okay, well, I don't know the angle, so I can't do anything else there. So I've got my 14 mil line, and you can kind of see the double thickness of the line there. What I've got here is 14, 20, 18. So we're going to go there. Now, I was saying before that I was reading that you shouldn't have more than should never have more than 2 chained distances. Now, this was from like I think a Canadian, no, it's a British resource, and I can see why they say that. What would be interesting is when we delete this, see how I've lost that corner. Now, if I was drawing that on paper, I'd maybe be upset to lose that corner, but here, pretty easy. And although I could have done a trim, if you know where it's going to end, why not let it end properly? Okay, so we have this object here that we don't need, so I'm just going to delete that and then go, or if I was smarter, what I could have done is I could have used the offset command and chosen this, select the object, press O for offset, specify the distance, we're going 14 mil down, and then we're going here, and then I can delete that one. There's probably a command that lets you delete the original, but you know, it's one of those things where learning how to do things fast can sometimes take longer than doing things properly. Whenever I do code, whenever I write code for stuff like, let's say, reports or something like that, I often think, okay, well, how much time is this going to save? Is this going to save me more time than it would to do the job? So a friend of mine, he runs a telecommunications company. I'm going to say that he's doing quite well for himself. And part of that is that he has just automated his entire job. And, well, he's automated several staff members, let's put it that way. Now, the thing is, he often says to me that if he has to choose between writing code to automate something or just do the thing, he'll always write the code. And I think this is a good practice. And the reason why I say that is because at the bare minimum, if you do that, you're going to learn a skill, even if it's not. You're going to learn a skill, even if it takes 5% longer to automate. It's still probably better to automate because you're going to learn the skill. And you just never know when you say, oh, you know what, that code that I did last time is actually going to help me now. And I think that's, you know, part like a secret to his success. Okay, so we've got our top there. And then we've now got to look at what this object's going to look like here. So here what we're going to do is we're going to go L, and we're just going to reflect those lines down. That's probably about right. Reflect those lines down, L. Now, a key thing that we want to talk about here, trim. I was going to talk about is hatching. It's really important. The key thing is that these things have to line up directly. Like, you'll lose marks in the HSC if they don't line up. It's really important. It's part of the standard is that these things need to line up. TR. Okay, I think we've got, you know what, I'll leave that line there because it has been helpful and you never know when you need it again. Okay, so this line here doesn't exist. TR. This line is a hidden detail line. So everything else we've got is not a hidden detail line. So what we can now do, for the sake of this, I'm just going to set this one line as hidden detail. So to do that, create a new layer using this one with a little star on it. And then I go to line type, and I don't want continuous. I'm going to load a line type. We're going to go with ISO dash, and then we're going to select that line type. And now, when we select the object, we can then move it to layer 1. I should have labeled it, but I didn't. Now, if I go to properties, to go to properties, why can't I see properties? There we go, tab properties. I'm sure there was a keyboard shortcut that I could have used. I want to look at the properties in a big window. So there we go. So I expanded out there, and then I want to set the line type scale to 0.5. And you can see now that I think that dashed line looks much more appropriate. Now, we have said before that we don't really use hidden detail in the HSC. We tend to instead use sectioning, and that's fine. But for the moment, this gives us plenty of information. Okay, we're going to dimension things. It shouldn't take too long to dimension. Hopefully, I have saved my dimension standard that I set last time. So if we go to, there should be one. Manage dimension styles. I saved one last time. Oh well, we'll do it again. Yeah, okay, continue. Okay, so we like decimal, but we don't want to have any precision. We're just going to do it to the nearest millimeter. Scale factor is if we're drawing things different size. Lines. Look, last time I did this, I changed this to 2 millimeters and 1 millimeter. You know what, we'll do it that way again. 2 millimeters, 1 millimeter. I'm happy with closed arrows. The text height should be 3.5 under Australian standard. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they just say as long as it's consistent. It's really important that you have them. How far are we going to have the text above the line? I put that at 1 millimeter. Primary units, if we were to use something, we'd use the decimal separator as a full stop rather than a comma. In France, they use commas. We've already talked about the scale, alternative units, tolerances. Okay, that seems like it's pretty much everything. And so then we're just going to dimension this. So we might go, we don't really have a stack of room. So I don't know, I think it goes a little bit, it looks a little bit better here. So I'm going to just take that and then say it's 10 mil away. And then that one here is 10 mil away. And then this one here, oh, I've actually drawn this wrong. That should have been 14. Let's see how long it takes to fix this. All right, so that should have been 14, 20, 18. And these look like they're either the dimensions wrong or the... okay, so there's something else I've done which I don't like, which is that the line didn't start from the right spot. So if I type in dim for dimension, and I go from here, but we're going to fix this thing here. So this thing is 4 millimeters in the wrong spot. So if I take these objects and I press M for move, and then I go 4, that should move my object. Now, actually, I wanted to move this one as well. I just didn't realize it. And then this one here. Once upon a time, you would have hit the extend, right? That was the function that you would use. But now, if you just double click this line, you can just move the handle. And extend isn't as useful as it maybe once was. I think TR for trim is still pretty handy though. Okay, so this dimension, we're just going to move that back there. That's now 14. Now this line here, that's really easy. We're just going to go move and move 4. Okay. And this one here needs to move as well. I could have done both at the same time, but we saw how to do that before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is dimension from here to here, and that's 20. And we did say this should be 18. Okay, so if I just go here and move this, it's 22. 22 minus 4 gets us to here, and then this object moves. There we go. That does mean all of this needs to move here. So to collect multiple objects, and then we go move, and we're just clicking from this point, and we're okay. So we're moving all of these objects. I'm going to go move from here, 4 mil, enter, and then we're just, okay, so, and this is a good opportunity to extend. So if I tap EX, extend, the advantage of extend, whoops, is, okay, so I've got to read the extend. So it says select boundary edge, yeah, okay. And then it will extend multiple objects to the same distance, and that can be an advantage. So when you do multiple things extend, I don't know, like these things, a lot of the stuff I'm saying, it's like when I teach food tech, right, which I haven't done for a long time, but when I teach food tech, I'm very aware of the fact that my experience is different to other teachers. So for me, like, you know how you're supposed to make your hand into a claw when you're chopping, I don't tend to do that all that often. Now, for me, because I could put the 60, yeah, why not, just, and then 10 mil, now, we could do, to do 80, we could just do a dimension, but I really don't, I feel as though I don't have a stack of dimensions to do. So I'm just going to do that. Because I don't want to, even though, so we are chaining 4 dimensions there. And the reason why I think that they don't like you to chain multiple dimensions is it's hard to know where this is. You don't have a specific reference. You would be better off nesting that. But I'm conscious that I want to try and fit this all in my paper. So that's why I am doing that. Okay, so for 6 mil here, this is interesting. So what we can do is we don't generally want a dimension inside the drawing, but we can if there's not really another good spot for it to go. So that's what we do there. That's the correct way to dimension small dimensions. If you can't fit the arrows in there, you're supposed to do it just like that. So good work, AutoCAD. So we're going to dimension this. I'm sure there's probably a way of dimensioning 2 things at the same time. There's probably like an option to press M for multiple when we start. The only thing we don't have is we don't have this dimension from here to here. Oh, why is that not? The 14 down. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so that's one drawing. Now what I could do rather than starting again is I might just copy all of those, and I'll just copy it all and just, well, not even copy, I'm just going to move it off my page. And so I'm now going to use this as my paper. So we're now going to do this new drawing, and I'm thinking, how do I want to approach this? Let's go to this object. So first of all, what I have to do is I have to download the 4th picture. Okay, save image as. In OBS, I want to go to image, browse, and I guess, me wasting your time by looking at that picture at the start of this video is an example of something that was hard when I first did it, but now now is no longer a problem. Like that first time that, oh, okay, so when I did zoom extends, it picked up that thing. So what I want to do is I want to zoom, and I'm going to do from this window, from here to here, and we're going to go, I just don't like that it covers the command box. That's the problem. But we'll try like that. Okay, so we've got the new picture that we want to draw. Nice if we could make this a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to read. Okay, so the thing that just occurs to me is I may have drawn this one wrong. So it does ask for, yeah, it says side A and side B. That's what they asked for. It says a front view from side A, yeah, so I think that's correct. Okay. So this time around, I won't draw the boxes first. I'll just get started. And we're going to start with this shape. it's hard for me to know where to point, but for the one on the left. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to L for, every time I press L and I'm not actually in AutoCAD, it creates a problem. So we'll go L and we want to start here. Okay, so we're going up 56 and then across 8 and then down some amount. Too hard to figure that out. So we're going to go L and we draw across. Oh, again, I don't really know. I don't want to do that incrementally. So what I'll do is I'll just draw a line. And I know that this line here is 70, it's 70 long. You know what? I don't like having a line. I take that. You know what? That's a bit silly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this up. How far up is it? It's 56 up. It didn't snap to my angle. 56 up. Okay, now we're going to go 70 across. 70 across and then down. So that outlines this shape. How far up are we going? We're going 16 up. Now, I don't really like lines over lines. That's generally considered to be a bad practice. So this line here, I should probably delete. We're not supposed to have that line. And I guess when we start moving objects around like we did before, that can be bad. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a line that's 12. So I could offset this line here by 12, but then I'd have to trim it. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to go offset. I'm going to set a distance of 12, and I'm going to pick that object and that object. And then I'm just going to trim them. I don't know how far to trim them yet. Okay, they are 26 down from the top. So I can go offset and go 26 and down from the top. And then hit TR and just clean up all those. Okay, can't delete that, so I'm going to trim it. Okay, so we've got something there. And that gives us a bit of information. What it doesn't tell us is this was in fact 70. It's 70 by 70. But that it wasn't clear to me at the time when I did it. Okay, so we're going to go hit escape, hit L, and then we're going to go up 30, and then go up 70, and then across, because we know that it's 70, but we just check. Yep, looks good. Go down again 70. I could have used the rectangle tool to draw this, but we're here and it's okay. Delete. Okay, so now we know that, okay, so the problem is with it at the moment is this object here is not in the right spot. Panning. So we'll call it 200 mil and then less than sign 45 degrees. Oh, didn't like that. So 200 mil. It doesn't matter, the distance is not important. So it's helping me out with the degrees. So it's saying, hey, you're looking like it's about 140. It's actually 135. 135. I think I bumped it because I was reaching over. My keyboard, my desk space is not great. So 200 less than 135. Okay. So I think I've seen AutoCAD operators who actually have like weird keyboards so that they can get their numbers on the other side. And so this is where our object needs to be moved to. We haven't done a stack of work here, but I'm still going to move it. And if I just move it to the intercept, there we go. I can delete that line and that line because I don't need that anymore. Don't need that. Okay, so line out to here and then drop it and then this line here. Now you notice at this point I'm just hitting space rather than hitting L each time. I can just hit space. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to trim a couple of these lines now while we're in a good spot to do so, keeping things clean. Okay, now that's most of our objects. What we need to do now is just our hidden D, this thing in the middle. So what we've got, it looks like it's hard to read that dimension. It's either 15 or 18. Let me see. If I go back to the original drawing, it's 18. Okay, so not for the first time, I've hit line when I was not in AutoCAD. L, and so we're going to go 18. We probably will delete that line in a second. It is 30 to the center line, so 30. And then from here, we're going to just go 9. And then I'll delete this line. And we remembered that we wanted to get this one. The blue helps us to select only that line. And we're going to go L again and go another 9. Some people might replace that with an 18 mil line, but not me. So this thing is 34 mil long. 34. And then we've got 20 and 20. So a way I could approach that is I could draw a 40 mil line. Let's just do that. 40 mil line. And then when I select this object, I can grab it by its midpoint. Or I could just move it. Here we go. Move and just move it up 20 mil. Don't need that line anymore. And then, okay. So I've got my objects. What I don't have is I don't have this wall at the back. Now I could go up like this and this to find that, and I obviously have, that's what I've done, but I'm using TR trim to eliminate those. I could do that, but I mean, also I knew that it was 8 millimeters, so I could just use that. But the whole point is that these things need to line up. If they don't line up, you're going to lose marks. So trimming. Okay, so I've got all our shapes. The thing now we need to do is just add in hidden detail. Okay, and then TR, we should be able to go like that. Okay, that was pretty quick. L, and then TR. Okay. So we've now got our objects. So we're going to delete this line. We don't need that line anymore. And what we're going to do is select all of our hidden detail. We're passing through those shapes. Why are they not collecting? Oh, it doesn't like shift. That's just getting used to AutoCAD. And now again, we want to go to properties. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is the only way I could find. And I mean, so some of you may have suffered through me looking that up on the internet. And obviously no one wants to be the guy looking things up on the internet. That's a bit of an odd sentence. No one wants to be, streaming, oh, this is me looking things and researching things. No, it doesn't make for great television. But I really should have moved this box. That was totally within my power to move that. Anyway, should be more attentive. I gotta say, it's surprising I don't see any comments yet, which makes me think, am I actually streaming, or is it not in the right chat? Where's the chat window? Docs. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so I've changed that preference to 50%. I'm sure there's a better way that I could have done it. Then, I mean, with all of these things, there's got to be a better way that I could have done things, but this is the way that I've done them. Now, how am I going to dimension things? I'm going to do some different stuff to the way I did it last time, I think. So I'm going to type in DIM for dim. Now, remembering that we don't really want to have our dimension dot go from here, like we want to go from like that. That's how we want to approach it. So that we have that gap, we can clearly see what's a dimension line, what's not. Even though I'm not bothering to change line types this time around. Now, there for 10 is good, and then we'll do here for 20. That's, I think that's much cleaner than what I did last time. Here, what I might do, I didn't do an overall dimension last time, I think, but there's probably a good way to always default to 10 mil. In this case, we're going to go to 20 mil because we want to do these internal dimensions. Or it depends on if we're going to label. If we're going to label, we might want to, we could just do it up here, but we'll do it here instead. Oh, I must have typed in a really big number. Okay. This is the advantage of having done just one shape. I can just click off the line, but that's a fairly minor benefit. Interesting that it wants to do it in that direction. I have to go all the way down here. And then once I'm here, whoops, I could probably select on this and then move it up if I wanted to do that. There'd definitely be people who would say, if you can, if it's at all possible, you should bring it out to here and then move that 10. There'd definitely be people who would say that. You generally don't want to have dimensions inside an object as a rule. But I think with a cutout like this, it's a bit tougher. Looking at what I know why that's doing it, is because it's moving it relative, and I'll keep typing 10, whereas I want to go to, you know what, we're just going to delete that. Yeah, it's tough. I think that I like this inside better than I do there. I think I like this inside better. And I think there's a good precedent based on the information they've provided to us. Now this I don't like, but we're going to do it, which is we're going to go off this location to here, which I don't really like. I made a mistake though. I should not have done it that way. I shouldn't have taken it off. Why did that? This line here is going off the wrong spot. Okay, and then so it's really important that you can see that gap. So that I didn't make the mistake. It was, well, I made the mistake previously, not the mistake there. Still me making the mistake. Okay, so there are leader lines there, but you can't see them, and the thicker line will cover them up, so that's fine.